in the
Monday.
afternoon, suddenly.
Okay, let me think back. I believe it was Monday, so it would have been 3 nights ago, which would be Wednesday, Tuesday. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, Monday, Monday. Yeah, uh, I I was extremely exhausted. I remember that. I remember I went to bed early to get up early. I wanted to get up like at 4, and I woke up at 4 because I wanted to do something at 6. That was going to be a long day, and um, from 4 to 6, I just went down. So all Tuesday was really rough physically, and then
Yeah.
Wednesday was a bit better. Here, I'll tag you. I'll
Ah,
tag.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for me,
yeah,
it's not Monday evening or in the afternoon, and then Tuesday I was pretty wiped out as well.
good. I'm
And
glad I
then
wasn't the only one.
this thing happened in the
I woke up at
evening.
4 because
Yeah.
I wanted to do something. On
And yesterday I was just in bed all day, and I've been in bed most of the day today, so just really tired. Just
Yeah, I had to. I had to move out of the place that I had. It was an RV,
yeah,
and I had to move out on Tuesday, and so that's why I wanted to go to bed early Monday. And I woke up at 4, and then something happened, and then I was just like, I don't know. I just got all discombobulated for the next couple of hours, and then I couldn't even get over to go do what I was going to do until 10 o'clock, and it was a long day, and but it was draining to me. Monday and Tuesday was very physically draining. I feel a bit better today. How about you? You just got out of bed though, right?
yeah. I had one session today in the afternoon,
Mm.
and then I've been in bed again after that until now. So that's
Jeez.
all.
So
Just completely
you had a
wiped out.
session. You had a client. Is that what happened?
Yes,
What kind of
yes.
what kind of session?
And
What kind of session do you do?
the universe wanted it to be that 24-year-old just 2 hours before I was going on with you again.
Oh, why does that ring a bell?
Because yesterday, no,
Oh
yes,
yes.
I
Okay.
told you about that 24-year-old.
So that was the same one. That
Yes,
How crazy is that?
I know.
Okay, let me
I know.
refresh my memory now. So the last time we talked, you're getting the call to help the children. You're being contacted by children telepathically, and things were forecasted, such as this 24-year-old. And
Mm.
and I remember saying, "God, we need to talk more. Let's do another show." I don't know. I don't know. Do you remember where we left off? But because that's fascinating, it
It
really
is.
is.
It really is. Um,
Do you have any more clarity on
Both yes and no. It's a lot, and there has been people contacting me after the last show,
it? Mm,
uh, and so I'm trying to. I've both been, downloading more and channeling some more, um, and starting to get more like exercises to do with the children. Um,
really?
yeah. Um,
Now, when you got contacted after the last show, was it young people or was it parents calling, inquiring about their children?
uh, Everything from like quote unquote normal people that feel a call to work with the children
Mm,
and that wants like support or like a circle or like is want some guidance as to how to go about it, to parents telling you about their children, to grandparents wondering if it can be that which is going on with their grandchildren. um, yeah, so a little
wow,
bit of everything. Yeah.
wow, awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. It's very, very interesting. So I'm curious to see like you know, how the path will be.
Have you had any more interactions with that little boy on the other side of the world?
I have felt him, but I haven't had any communication with him.
Wow.
But I felt him more the last couple of weeks, and I have.
Are you getting like, um, are you Pleiadian?
I don't know where I'm
Right.
originally from.
I mean,
I
probably
do know
every.
that I'm one of those blue beings that I've seen.
You're one of the
Uh,
blue beans.
yes, because I had that was, let me see, 3 years ago in the forest when I was just going for a walk and I was standing, eyes closed, and just doing a grounding. Um, and I just felt like so in my body, so grounded. I could feel like inside the earth. It was amazing. And then when I opened my eyes, I was just going to continue my walk. I had 8 blue beings standing in like half circle around me.
Wow,
Uh,
that's
and
right.
I saw them physically. They were there. So when I opened my eyes, I jumped because that was not what I expected to see.
Yeah, I'll
But you
say so.
told me that I am one of those. And those are the blue beings I channel. But I have still not told me where they're from.
Probably everywhere. They're probably
Yeah.
from all over the place.
Yeah.
Blue beans. Yeah. No, I
And
was
they're
just,
really
huh? Tall.
probably around, I don't know, 2.5 meters,
So what?
maybe.
10 feet, 8 feet.
No idea.
I think I think a meter is over 3 feet. No, I don't know what a meter is. What is a meter? Yeah, I
I
think.
am
Huh?
168 tall and I'm like average
You're
woman
what? What is
height. 168.
168?
Yeah, and that's like average women.
Oh, 1.68.
Yeah,
Okay.
meters.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're maybe a meter taller than me.
Wow. I was wondering if there was a connection between the children and, I guess there would be, the blue beans, you know? Hmm.
Well, I guess it depends on what perspective you see it from, because ultimately everything is connected,
Yeah.
always. Um, what like the messages I receive from the blue beings when they come in the most, there are things that has to do with collective energies. Like they came in really strong in the beginning of 2020, like 1st of January 2020.
Right.
That's when they started me like really pushing me to get the YouTube channel going, and I got downloads on frequencies that we obviously
I
met
remember that.
that year.
20. God, that's hard to believe that was 3 years, though. Because I remember that. I remember when you were first coming out. And you would think that's 2 years, but it's three. It's all 2020, 2021, and 2022. It's been 3 years.
Yeah, it was in May.
Yeah.
I made the channel public. Yeah,
May of 2020. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. God, that's a lot. That seems like 2.5 years ago. Seems like a light years away.
It does. It's yeah, it's incredible.
Mm. But
It really.
you seem so settled. I mean, I know everybody's expanding and changing, but you just like in the last this year, right? Like so many great things have happened for you, and you just seem so much more settled because your story is a lot like most of these people, and being very having health issues or mental health issues or just phobias, not being able to go out into public, hearing voices and all these things, and yet look how well adjusted you are. No.
Yeah, I think what happened for me. It was very physical. Uh, so it was the diagnosis was Lyme disease and CFS. But of course, it has to do with I think everything that has. How can I say? There are many components to a diagnosis like CFS, chronic fatigue.
Mm,
But I think the main thing is, of course, that you don't have any energy. You're, I mean, wiped out in a whole like not normal wiped out. You're,
right, right.
but it's a whole. It's like being living dead.
Wow.
But the problem, of course, is that the life force energy isn't moving, and the main, metaphysical reason behind it, in my opinion, is that you're constantly doing things you don't want to do. So it's all those programs and all those patterns that you have, the thought patterns, everything that you have to do this, you have to be a good girl, you have to do things properly, you're afraid of making mistakes, people pleasing, all of these things that it's so wrapped in being a good person, but you're really not being authentic. And then at the same time, I was holding back or running away from everything I was seeing, everything I was experiencing, because I wanted to be this normal, person
Good
that
luck.
right.
I want to be
And then,
this
of course, what
normal.
happens is that you're being in so little contact with who you really are. And then, of course, the life force energy stops moving in the end, because you're not in contact with your own life force energy.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing I had to turn around, because you're basically creating a prison for yourself, for the authentic self. And so that's what I needed to turn around all these years, on my healing journey. And then, of course, owning who I am and getting to know who I really am, with everything that is happening to
Hmm.
me or that I'm experiencing, not being a victim of it. And
Right.
then, yeah.
And now, like your energy, your life force energy is flowing. Is your health, you know, reflecting that? I mean, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird too. Franco had Lyme's, and
Mhm.
I've met a number of light workers that have had Lyme's disease or that have it. Franco, I guess, always had it, and it seems to be kind of connected to and a CFS, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know why it shows up. Like maybe they were targeted or something. I don't know. Or something. The other would be like I was watching. What's that guy's name? Gabor Mate. You know the.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about. Somebody asked him what is ADHD, and basically he went. I'm not going to go into the details. He was explaining that it was a coping mechanism that when you can't flee, what is it? Fright or flee or fright or fight or
Fight or
flee.
flight.
Yeah, yeah, fight or flight. That those people don't have that option,
Ah,
and they're
interesting.
empathic, so they're picking up on whatever it is. And he was using the um, example of a child, and the parents are fighting, so he's getting all that trauma. He's getting all that, and that's basically what they do. Uh,
Mhm.
so the whole point is, it's not an illness. It's not an affliction. It's a normal thing. He didn't say this part, but to me, this is what I see is like of highly sensitive people,
Yeah.
you know, that can't do the fight or flight.
Mm.
So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that's
Yeah,
was in my system as well. Was a lot like it was like in a freeze state.
yeah,
Then
like
you've stopped to fight or flight. You're just frozen. Everything is just like
yeah,
still stand completely. So it's all about getting the energy to
yeah.
actually move. So
There's
it's
that.
never,
Yeah, and
even
there's.
though
Go
it
ahead.
looked like, felt like I had no energy whatsoever, I
Hmm.
was never empty of energy. It was just blocked. It wouldn't move in my body.
And what's that other condition I've noticed a lot of people have gotten also that are in these circles or had a history of it? Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, and that's what happens. The muscles just freeze up. I've seen it. It's crazy. It's kind of scary. But anyway, the
Yeah.
point is these things are they're not problems. They don't need to be cured, so to speak. Like, you know what I mean? Especially with all these kids with the ADHD and the Asperger's and autism.
Yes. I think, especially for diagnoses like CFS and fibromyalgia, and this is my opinion only, um, is, you know, it's mostly highly sensitive people who
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
And then we do create a lot of coping mechanisms to function in this world, those coping mechanisms can be healed. We can change those thought patterns, we can change behaviors, because
Mm,
we have a personality that fits, that actually makes it so that we fit perfectly into, like, we're creating that illness.
mm,
Like, we have to come to the point of taking responsibility for that, because then we can actually get out of it as well, because it's fully possible to get out of it,
right,
even
right,
though it does not feel like it when you have, setback after setback after setback, and you're just laying there, dark room, lots of pain in the body. You can't listen to anything because you can't hear noise. It's because the central nervous system is, it's in shock. It's just like vibrating. But when we are shifting and changing these thought patterns and behaviors, and we're like getting to feel those emotions that we have, held within the body for so long, we can actually get that life force energy moving. We can get the muscles to start relaxing and understanding that it's actually safe to relax. I don't have to be in that fight or flight mode all the time. And with, then coming out of those symptoms and remembering that the symptoms are only a messenger.
right.
The Any illness is never the identity. I think that's one of the things that I would say to anyone fighting any sort of illness: never identify with the illness, because then it's so much harder to get out of it.
Right,
Because there's an imbalance in the body, and that can be healed. There's nothing wrong with the person, but there's, changes that has to happen with the personality in order to create another experience in the physical body.
yeah.
And that's have the opportunity.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she was talking about one of our friends, energy worker, said, would you like to heal this situation you have? And my friend said no, because I feel like it's my signal, right? It's
Yeah.
signaling me, and if I didn't have that signal, then who's to say that it wouldn't just go from normal to a critical state, you know?
Exactly.
And I
Yes.
thought, wow, that's actually that's actually. And then the other thing this Mate was talking about was, which is what you're talking about. He said it's not the trauma. The trauma occurred. The trauma is like a memory, or it's not gonna. You know what I mean? It's that it occurred. It's what occurred inside of your body,
Yes.
right? And that's what he was basically talking about was locating where is it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the essence of it. Because if I have had some sort of a trauma or experience that got stuck in my body, whether it's, a huge, big violation, or whether it's, just being picked up, um, as the last one every single day in the kindergarten, and you feel you're not worth anything because I'm always the last one to get picked up. It can be things that are huge, or it can be things that are small, but when it's first stuck in the body and we haven't been able to feel those emotions through, it will stay there until we feel it, but then we can actually let go of it. We can let it move through.
Are you finding that as you're, I guess, since I've known you, like you're just like so many people, just expanding and a lot higher levels of alignment. Are you finding that are you still like super sensitive, or like does the information or the energy coming in, is it still challenging to you, or are you further along where you can?
Awesome, awesome question.
Mm,
It's very different than what it was before, and I think one thing which is important, especially for people that are having or experiencing health issues, is, there's so much talk about ascension symptoms, and it's so easy, because one of the things, if you are in an experience of health issues, physical pain or something, it's so easy to be attached to it, and it's so important in the healing process to find out what is this actually providing me. So if I have a problem, to say no. If I don't learn to say no and don't discover why I'm not able to say no and deal with those issues in me, my body will start saying no. And so I will, every time I really don't want to do anything, my body will say no instead. So I will create the need to have a bodily issue in order to who I am. Like, that's a mechanism that is very often happening when someone is ill. Or other, like it's, Yvette Rose. She just written this book, which is amazing, on metaphysical anatomy. She's done great work around this
What's her
emotional
name?
root cause.
What's her name?
Yvette Rose.
Okay.
She's done amazing work on this. Um, and she talks about secondary gains. And this is what's so important to really discover, because those are the things that keep the pattern of needing an illness to be there, to actually be there. And this is the same thing when we're talking about ascension symptoms. So if it's a person who already has health issues, it's very easy to come into the pattern of, oh yeah, no, but now there has been a lot of energy coming in, so I have pain, so I can just, I don't have to do anything, or I have to. It's that excuse that is needed, and it's very important to not look at any energetic thing from that point. It's very important to accept what's going on, and if you're wiped out, I mean, you're wiped out, like I was yesterday. It has nothing to do with my history of having, had that diagnosis for 9 years, because I don't have the fatigue anymore. So it's, what that I was in bed yesterday has nothing to do with it.
Right. Right.
So this happen, and we need to accept it, because we're moving through energies, and everything is fluctuating. But before, when it was like a lot of energies coming in, or I had been somewhere with a lot of energies, like for example a lot of history, and I could see things, I could see Vikings running around on the fields, and I could pass out because it was too much, because I wasn't able to hold it. That was very different. Like, I don't have those experiences anymore, because I'm much stronger physically and energetically now, so I can
Right.
hold my energy, and I can interact with whatever energetic experience I have as well, in a whole different way than I could back then. But I still, like I did yesterday, can get wiped out, because there's still a lot of clearing that needs to happen in me. There's still a lot of programs running in me, even though I've been clearing, heaps.
Right. No kidding.
They're
But
still there.
yeah.
There's more to take from, and what we have been through now, from always take dates with a grain of salt, but around the 11th
Yeah.
of November to the 21st of November, and then like the massive shift, the
Yeah.
22nd of November, there's been a lot of activation. A lot of this has to do with the solar plexus, about coming into our own power, about coming into that empowerment, so that we can actually create more in the physical for the time coming. So we're going to see, quite some months now, where there will be like, it looks like a spring clean collectively. And this is probably the reason why I've been wiped out now as well, is because anything that is left of limiting beliefs about myself, about any fear of stepping into more of my own power, is coming up, because now it's like it's time. So it's happening on a very physical level,
Right.
but it's so important to not create a story or a narrative around it, which is
Right.
very easy to do when we put it on energies. So if we just check ourselves on that, I think we can handle it.
That's a good
In a
explanation. I think. Yeah. There is a bit. I think there's something to overanalyzing, and because
Yes,
you are creating you're creating somewhat of a story, because that's what we like to do, because then we think we can understand it. But I think what you're saying is just see it for what it is. But also, this thing about you were saying, I just want to go back to it, because I want to hear a couple of your videos since we last talked. I want to talk about that and what you were just talking about. But this thing about what you said if you, like in that example, if you don't say no and learn how to say no, then your body will say no.
Mm.
Because your body is trying to bring you into alignment or whatever. And I know that obviously you've had your own journey of self healing, and I know you help people as well. Um, what about addiction? Is addiction the body somehow saying no? Or what's your experience with that, or do you have any?
Um, I will say my experience and knowledge of it is not huge because I haven't been in any like substance addiction myself. So there's a lot I don't know. Just so
Right.
disclaimer. But I think the pattern is very often the same thing, whether it is any type of substance abuse or whether it is addiction to social media or watching TV shows or eating or just any type of pattern we do to distract ourselves from what's in the present moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that,
Yeah.
the essence of it is the distraction. And
Yeah.
then, you know, I can, I know the things that I have used to do in my life when I just need to distract myself. Like I call this person or I do this or and if I then stop in the moment and I ask myself why, like, can I just breathe for a couple of minutes right now? And for the most part, it will reveal itself what I'm trying to distract myself from, and I can get present with that emotion or with that thought or whatever I'm trying to sort of get away from, if there is something.
Yeah.
Like I think that's some of the essence, but of course, there is a lot more to the whole thing of addiction,
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
it's
Yeah.
complex.
I mean, I'm sure
Um,
there is, but just listening to you, like, so the body says no because you
mm,
won't say no, which
yeah.
means you're ignoring yourself.
Mm,
So the body kicks in. So I just look at it the same way. I thought, well, that's weird because if I have an addiction, my body's actually telling me no or listen up or something, and I'm
mm,
ignoring it.
yeah.
So in one case, you have, let's say, a non-addictive scenario. You've got something occurs in the body because you were ignoring yourself, and then in the other one, something, I guess, you know, occurs in the body through addiction because you're
Yeah.
ignoring. It's the same thing. And even like what you said about um, surfing social media or whatever else it is, sex, shopping, whatever, but yeah, or calling a certain somebody, or yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
It's
and it's, there are some addictions that are very normal in society that are sort of accepted, that not seen as addictions. And then you
mm-hmm,
have other addictions that are really like judged. But
yeah,
I think the important part is to find out what's driving it. What is the pattern underneath? What am I trying to distract myself from feeling that is uncomfortable so that I need to have chocolate or alcohol or just dive into a game to,
mm,
get myself out of it? Because if we can meet it, maybe we need assistance or someone holding space while we meet it. Then doing that is what makes the path forward.
mm. Yeah, and then I mean, you and I are pretty tight, and Hung Nguyen came into town yesterday, and we're
Mm.
tight. We're very tight, and she, she stimulates my mind like you do, and those like you. And one of the things that she was talking to me about last night, in general, but I think there's always a message. Why would I be hearing it? Especially from one of my friends. But I hadn't really thought about it a lot, which is about stepping into our power. So I feel like if I look at my own, journey, I've stepped in my power all along. But in talking with her last night, and now I'm talking to you, I just want to see what your take on it is, because we have a different journey, but I know your journey the last 3 years, and I know the incredible leaps like so many people have taken that you've taken. You're stepping into your power. I mean, that's just the way it is. But listening to her last night and then sitting by myself for about 2 hours, I started to think, this is a whole new thing. Like, you're being asked to step into your power, which means you're not stepping into your power right now. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, what are you doing? Like, and maybe it was just the realization of getting to that point, because I started to go into judgment a little bit. I thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm not judging this. I've been kicking ass and taking names for too long. I don't care what anybody says. But there's something to what the conversation was leading to, which is what I wanted to ask you about. I just had to admit to myself, you know, and I guess maybe she kind of helped me get there, because I was already kind of getting there based on the previous couple of days, which is you're not stepping into your power. You're holding back. You're waiting on this or that or them or her or him or whatever. You're waiting on this and that and money and all this stuff. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter. Any of that stuff doesn't matter. I can actually do this now, right
Yes.
now. And it was really intense. So I was just wondering, with all the information that you're pulling in, like with these videos, which I want to get to, have you had this happen to you? I mean, I know you got pushed out in May of 2020. I know that, like, when you came on last year and you did light language for the first time, like, I've seen you, and I've also seen the evolution of your videos and your public. You're more at ease and you're more confident and powerful, right? But have you got another round of this? I mean, is it just me? Do
I'm
you
in the middle of it.
Are you in the middle of it? Okay, I just wondered, because it really hit me
Yes.
hard last night. It really did, and today.
Yes.
I mean, and
Yes.
today, to the point where I'm on the verge of tears. Like, I'm like, wow, what the hell's going on here? And then of course, I look on the schedule and it's you, so I thought, oh, okay, here we go. So you're in the middle of it. You're saying, yeah,
I am. I am. And I think that's, the main reason why I've been wiped out for a couple of days. Because anything that I still have left of limiting beliefs or fears or anything that makes it so that I hold myself back, um, it needs to be like it's the energy moving through that is not aligned with what is still sort of of an old construction
right,
in mindset. And as long as that mindset is still there, this energy doesn't, like, that's the same thing. You feel like you're just wiped out and you're tired because the energy doesn't get to move where it's supposed to move. So it's just like, now it's just like stepping back and knowing that, okay, it's re like restructure complete restructuring of neural pathways, of and whatever comes up, I just get really really clear on it, and everything that has been coming up for me or that I've been shown, or it has to do with like everything that's leading into empowerment.
yeah,
It is the fear of making mistakes. It is, like my partner told me earlier today, because I was like, I'm having a session and I'm going on with Todd today, and how am I going to be able to even do? I I can't even watch a movie. Like, I'm too wiped out. And he said, if you're just not so afraid of making mistakes and you
mm,
just go on, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's like, yeah, well, okay.
right,
It's, and then I understood that, and that was the message I got when I tuned in yesterday. It was the exact same thing, and he didn't know that, and now he said that. So it's like, yeah, well, this is, there's still, even though I don't feel that fear like I would like 2 or 3 years ago, there's still residues of it. There's still
Right.
thought patterns that are grounded in that energy. It's in that frequency. So what I am actually doing now is that I'm creating new neural pathways as we're doing this show, because I'm teaching my body that this is actually working, and so the energy can start flowing. That's a whole different thing than pushing the body to do something when it's asking you not to.
Yeah.
That's how to balance it.
Yeah, that's what it was funny because Hung and I did a little show last night, and that was part of the conversation because of the whole story of the Soulogy Fest and how it all evolved and how we were. I was told don't do it what's been done before, and she was like, oh, maybe we ought to think about it. And anyway, so she ends up kind of summarizing the whole thing in a way I couldn't even do it, and she was just basically saying that we show up. And I think that's
Yeah.
what you're saying, because like when you show up, no matter how you feel, you're teaching your body, whatever, like it can be done or whatever. And I know for me, which is strange, this is a strange thing for me, this whole thing about not stepping into my power. Almost like whatever you've done doesn't matter. It's a new thing now. And just
It
because
is.
you stepped into your power all these years or whatever doesn't mean shit now, because now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. And so what I'm finding is, in a huge way, value. So, like, and Soulogy, of course, is the perfect example, because, I've been talking to these people for 4 or 5 years that are into capitalizing, I guess, monetizing platforms, and of course, I've seen a lot of the traditional ones. We've never taken an email. And we run on contributions, but there's something happening about this whole stepping into your power that has to do with value, like
Yes.
value, like if I just look at, just as an example though, Soulogy, there's a value there that's far greater than I've acknowledged. So this whole thing about equal energy exchange and reciprocation, it certainly comes down to the individual, but also our creations. And so I look at this and go, you know, the abundance is contingent upon my own value for myself, right? So if I don't command that value, no one's going to give it to me. Right? You know what I mean? So it's like, this is a weird space, this last 24 hours, I feel. For me, it is. So the
It
whole,
is most definitely.
yeah,
And I think, that self-worth or the value we have, and, seeing the growth and seeing like all of that is something we have to own. And that's why we're really being asked now, and we have to face whatever is holding us back from seeing our own value, from stepping fully into our power, because we are to create in the physical now.
yeah,
And we can't do that being apologetic. We can't be that, waiting for someone to tell us what to do. It
yeah,
has to come from inside. We have to be in contact with ourselves, with that energy, and with what we want to create, and then start doing it. And if we fail, we'll learn from it.
yeah.
And as I'm saying that, I can hear my guys are like, "Are you hearing what you're saying?" And so, they're
Yeah, it's coming
we
out of
have
your own mouth. Listen to yourself. Yeah, yeah, because it's like, and we were talking yesterday, and she was like, you got to state it, you know. You can't soft shoe it, right? And I'm like, well, how do you do that? But I think you just hit it. It's the same thing. Show up and you just, because that's one of the things for me is, like, I see, and I've always seen what the path will be. but the distance between here and there's a whole lot of stuff's got to be done, and I'm tired. I'm worn out. So I'm contemplating all this, but then I realize just take one step. That's all that
Yes.
that's all that you were talking about the new neural pathways. Just by showing up, I'm going to do the session today and I'm going to do a show with Todd. That's the one step, right? And
Yeah.
and then the thing about, because I don't really consider, oh well, I'm afraid to do it because of what people think, or I might feel. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is to not become arrogant and to be humble, right? But I don't think you can, like everything else, I don't think it can just stay in one place. So the only way for me to gain humility is to take action. Now, some of that action might bring in reward or abundance, and then it's upon me to seep myself in humility and be grateful. But the other thing that could happen is I could fall on my ass and try something, and everybody laughs at me, and I fail, and here we go again. I have the same opportunity to tap into a greater humility. But the whole
And
point,
also inspire other people because it allows
yeah,
those that are not daring to do something to actually have the courage because they see that not everyone is people are failing.
yeah,
And even though we make a mistake, we're not a failure. Like, that's huge.
yeah.
What you say about arrogance, then, I can see the mirroring in what you're saying.
You consider what?
I can see the mirroring in what you're saying. But with the arrogance, I would also then, okay, because if you're holding yourself back because you're afraid of, stepping more into your power, because then maybe I become arrogant or I don't, I'm not able to continue being humble. You are humble and you have then judgment around being arrogant.
Yeah, I just got that.
So
Like
you
right,
are actually judging your
yeah.
own potential to becoming arrogant, and by that you're holding yourself
You're
back.
that was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah, it's almost like you're arrogant for not doing it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and and yeah, this is amazing. It's I guess it's back to the value and trusting yourself, like really trusting yourself, and we do this. We've done this. Why is it such a big thing right now? I'm not getting this, but maybe it's because Hun came into town. Maybe it's because it's December. I knew December was going to start expanding, but I'm really feeling this call. I really am to step in to the fullest. And if
Yes.
it does upset people, then that's not my problem. It can't be my problem because if it's my problem, if external things become the point of my decisions, I'll never step into my power ever. You know, I,
And you can also look at it like, it is going to upset people.
wow, that's pretty deep. Yeah, that's right though. You're right about that.
And that doesn't make it wrong.
No, no. I mean, there's so many of us are in these situations where we're on limited income, don't have houses, all this different stuff, and you see it all over the community. Um, and we're all kind of jockeying with abundance, and a
Mm.
lot of practitioners can relate to this. They didn't charge anything, then they charge, and then and so they're like it's all over the place. And I think what you're saying is very true because I believe that the people in these communities, they are humble. This is why they've gone back and forth. This is why they haven't gone hardcore capitalism and if you or commercialism and those that you see that are still doing it, it's dropping. So there's something being worked out, but I think it really boils down to stepping into your power. And I know it sounds harsh, but I didn't really feel this way till we started talking. But stepping in your power and not giving a fuck what anyone thinks, because it's pure, and it's your body and mind, body, right, spirit in line with your what you can remember of your purpose. And so many of us are starting to get our purpose down now.
And there's so many waiting for that frequency to be seen. And there are some people that will not resonate with that frequency because they're supposed to resonate with another frequency.
Right.
That's it's really what we're being asked to do. And it's not super easy. Like I'm in the midst of the same thing myself. So I I totally get it. Um,
Well, I can feel it, and I feel like it's upon us. I don't really have like the sensitivities that you and people like you have. Like, can see what's going on, but I really feel this. I can only look at it in my own life because that period you talked about, like in addition, the end of August, and then that first part of October, and then so I was like, I got just totally stripped of everything, right? But I was told, so I didn't freak out. I got to the just to the nothing, nothing at all, and then I had to extract myself from my living arrangements, which I wasn't even using because it was too far and my car was broke down and all this stuff, right? But all along, I knew come December, the creations will start. You'll start building somehow, some way. It's like the soul is nudging you and you just can't stop, right? So
yes.
I find myself knowing I'm going to be here through the first 12 days of the month. I just know that. And then on the 13th day, I'm leaving. And no house, no, you know what I mean? And I just know that it's got to start from nothing again, almost like it did 10 years ago, and for so many of us when we reawoke. But I don't know, I'm just feeling it. I don't know what it looks like, but I do know one thing, that this is what I'm being asked to do, and I think it's the same thing that you're picking up on for yourself, is to really
Definitely.
step into our power, and way beyond talking about it, and just actually do it, which means so much. It means like just to be yourself, to do what you love, to say what you believe, just so much it means.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, for so many in this community with the challenges we might have with abundance, um, and by no means am I a master of that yet, but I think a lot has to do with, just understanding the energy that is energy coming in and energy going out. It has to be like open in both ends, sort of like we have to have that energy flowing. And whatever judgments or belief systems we have maybe grown up with, around people that has a lot of money, for example, that
Mm-hmm.
oh, they are arrogant and they're using their
Mm-hmm.
money for ill, and they're whatever these stories and narratives and belief systems are, those are what we really need to change, because we will never want to align with being abundant in that sense. um, Whether it's money, whether it's health, that's abundance as well, of energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's so many different ways that we can look at abundance from. But seeing that we can still, like, it doesn't, even though you have a lot of money, it doesn't mean that you're arrogant. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you cannot be humble. What is really needed is that the people that have done the work, that are, holding the frequencies of the new society that we're building, that are coming with the new creations. We need to not hold ourselves back because we're afraid of actually having the money to bring these things, the new systems, the new ideas, the new creations into the world, because then we are actually stopping the evolution.
Yeah.
We can actually handle it.
Yeah.
that's why we should really work on aligning with it, not being afraid of it, because then we are just going to be like those we have heard about, kind of. There's a lot of, you know, programs around that that I think is
Yeah.
still very much active in this community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, I've seen a couple of examples of where it seems to be working. Um, I know there's several people have mentioned this couple Eldora and I don't know their names Eldora and something Simeon or something like that. And they're a
I know.
couple and they go around the world in major abundance.
Mm,
I don't know the whole story and I don't have a feel for it all, but I'm sure that there's people that are doing it. You know, if you look at someone like Matt Kahn or just because you can tell what kind of person he is. It's pretty
yeah.
obvious. What kind of energy he carries and the way he presents, which is very much a sharing kind of thing. But my thing is, like, you know how, I don't know about you, but like, probably so though. Like, your story about coming to terms with the trauma that was showing itself, healing yourself, the empowerment of it all, that was like a call to arms that I can't avoid or you can't avoid or deny. And that's what this feels like now. It feels to
Exactly.
me,
Yes.
it really does. It really feels to me like, I don't know how to, well, like many times in my life, but if I just take the last 10 years since 2012, like when that all happened to me, like there was
Mm,
something in me that said, I am not going to stand for anything less than what I'm tapping into. And now it feels
mm,
the same way in a really strong way, like it's just freaking me out almost.
mm.
Like this is it. You if you don't do this, you won't even be here because you wouldn't be
Yes.
able to stomach being here, being any less than this. Yeah,
Yes.
that's how it feels to me. It's freaky.
Yeah, you're here to fully be who you are now, or
Yeah,
you're not going to be here.
yeah,
And that's really, I think that's what we want everyone. We just want to be ourselves, and we really want to, align with whatever the energy of who we are wants to create. And if not, there's not really a point of being here, right? It's what we all want.
well, it would
It's
be
just
it would,
challenging, really challenging on the way to,
yeah,
to
yeah,
clear out and unwind whatever is holding ourselves back from being who we really are.
yeah.
And we are growing, and there's growing pains to everything we're being asked to step into.
Tell me about it.
Hmm.
I'm a bit tired, you know, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's a new start. I guess December 1st. I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of people are forecasting March is when everything breaks open, and there's a lot of you know obvious fluidity, or we'll be able to see the physical manifestation of all this work we've done. But for me, it almost feels like well, it is winter here. I was gonna say it almost feels like I just died, right? Like
Yeah.
almost like it's a solemn kind of thing. Like, oh, he's dead. Wow, that's. But at the same time, there's this other part that we were talking about, that part that just nudges you and nudges you and pushes you and pushes you. But for me, it's like inside of literally my solar. Like it's
Yes.
just like I can't explain it. Like a big ball of energy. I can't really explain it.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening now, and this is
Is it
exactly what I was talking with my client about today as well.
really?
Because she said there has been like things going on in the solar plexus, which I wasn't surprised of, as I know that like coming into our power empowerment is a big topic now after that gateway we went through in November, and especially for well, I will think that in the general collective we will see it more in the coming, they said, 6 to 8 months.
Right.
It looks like a huge spring clean. Um, I don't know exactly how that will play out. But I think the kids have just been moving through it, and the other like way showers, whatever whatever term you use on
Mm-hmm.
us, we are in the midst of it right now, and that is so that we can actually start with the new creations while everything is being cleaned up. Even though there's a process that will be ongoing, getting all the new systems in place and whatever more needs to fall apart
Right.
before that, this is what's really starting, and it will be a lot of people going through challenges in that period, because whatever we're holding on to will, like, it's like you're saying, it's like it's coming from inside now.
Right.
It's not anymore um, like the first session I had with this girl, for example. We talked about the energies coming in and feeling bombarded by the energy coming in. But now she just said just exactly word by word the same as you said. It's just like it's shooting from inside. Like
Right.
it's just shooting, and it's the solar plexus, and that is our empowerment. And you can't hold it back. You can try,
No, you can't.
but
And y-
it's
and
you
yeah.
won't win that game from
No.
an old belief system.
Well, your mind doesn't have a mind doesn't. Like that's what it feels like. Like it's such a powerful thing that my mind, which isn't a big problem for me, but it's still the mind. Uh, the mind can't contend with the power that this is. That like being rational or logical, it doesn't. Whatever the mind says is it's not going to work. I can feel it, and
Yeah.
it literally it well, I don't want to say it scares me, but it almost scares me how powerful it is, because I know it's just kind of getting rooted now. So I don't
And
know.
so what's
Yeah.
also being challenged then
Mm,
is our fear of losing control, because we
mm,
like to be in control. And what is
mm.
the main tool we use to try to convince ourselves that we are in control? That's our
Yeah,
minds.
true. That's
Even though
true.
it's an illusion, that control that we think we have is what we do. And we can hold on to that with everything that we have, uh, or we can choose to let go. That will be the easiest way. But there we have a specter of to what extent we will try to hold on, but we won't be able to for too long.
That's what I see. That's what I see.
Right.
Oh, so it's almost like because I don't know, and maybe it's my ego. I don't think so. I try to do things as once I get wind of it to strike. Like I'm not one to mess around. I like to take action, and I feel like that, especially this year. I'm on the front end, like on the team that's on the front end of like especially some of this masculine stuff that happened since the summer.
Mm.
But I feel like it's for me that's how it feels. And then with this coming up, I'm going, well, you're going to have to do it anyway. It's already eating away at you. So go ahead and do it. And you might, some people might get upset.
Yes.
But to your point, I think everyone is going to do it. So those
Yeah, there's
judgment,
no choice anymore.
right?
We are energetically
Yeah,
now on a point where there's no choice, but we can create suffering for ourselves trying to hold on as long as we want to, but it won't continue for much more.
no, no.
Um,
I think
and like
that's
what you said, with the shift that you had since the summer and
mm,
with that new masculine energy, that has to do with coming into taking action in an aligned divine way,
right,
from a whole different energy. And then now to actually step into that creation and taking that action, we cannot do that not being in our power. So
right.
it's a logic thing that comes after that shift in the energy of the divine masculine. And also the experience I had last, when was it? Last Wednesday. Uh, also showed, a bit of what's going on now, because I saw a triangle between three mountains. That was the Andean Mountains, the Himalayas, and the Pyrenees. Is that what you call
Mm-hmm.
it? Those,
Mm-hmm.
France and Spain.
Right.
I saw a triangle between those, and then I saw the patterns of the energy. I saw the colors, everything moving between these three mountain ranges, and then um, after that, I saw like all mountains around the whole world, and I saw triangles between different mountains. So there was like triangles all over between mountains, and I saw that these mountains are now. So I was told, I think that was 3 years ago, that the energy from the inner earth is going to be released through the mountains, and they are being watched, or monitored sort of from the inside, so that it won't be too much energy coming up before we're ready to actually hold that
You got
energy.
this 3 years ago.
Yes.
So
And then,
the energy, I guess we could say the energy, the coding, the whatever is going to come from the inner earth. Okay, through these mountains. Okay, go ahead.
yes, and that time, there's a lot of codes, for example, from Atlantis. I'm sure Lemuria as well. The information I get is mostly on Atlantis, because that's my main connection. Um, but there's a lot of coding and remembrance from that as well that is coming up through the mountains. And then last year, I got that there were codes being released from the crystals in the earth that was coming up in the sea, so in the water of the sea.
Okay.
And now, what I was shown last week when I had this experience, and seeing these triangles, was that now the mountains are communicating with each other. So there's like an exchange of codes. It's like a network of mountains talking with each other around the world, releasing these energies from the inner earth. And then what happened also was that I saw, after watching all of this, I saw my own brain. A bit disgusting, to be honest,
You
because
saw
I
your
saw it.
own brain.
Yes,
Wow,
like it
that's cool.
really is,
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I saw, and this was all in yellow, which I'm now connecting, of course, to the solar plexus,
Right.
which I
Right.
haven't, you know. So I saw those triangles in my own brain, in yellow, um, just mirroring what was going on around in the world. Though between the mountains, there were different patterns, different colors. In my brain, it was all in yellow. But the pattern was mirroring what was going on between the mountains. And then what I got when I tuned back into it the day after, to see if I could get more understanding of what I was actually shown and what I experienced, because just after I was wiped out for a few hours, and it felt like everything was just like restructuring inside my head. It was really weird. And then after some hours, I was back to normal. And then the next day, I was shown that this has to do with the new neural pathways. So it's like, and that has to do, of course, with the thoughts that we have been thinking like over and over and over again, thousands of times for years and years and years. They have like these highways in our brain, so they're just like going on autopilot. When
Mm-hmm.
we're coming into a pattern, we have to create. It's like a little path in the forest. We have to consciously start using that more, so it starts to become a highway, so that the other highway that is not for our highest good, that is just a coping mechanism, for example, or anything like that, we have to consciously choose not to use that pathway anymore, and consciously start to create the others. And this is what is happening. It was like a blast of energy, just shaking everything up. And then, of course, coming into this week, and then we have this experience this week, it makes sense.
Yeah. 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 I can see it. I can, and that's really what it comes down to. Uh, you know, these pre-existing neural pathways that we have, which are, what did you say, not serving the highest, so they're thinking that we're sick or an addiction or all the different things that we go to, right?
Yes.
The only way to to really embed these new neural pathways is to take these actions, right? Is to be in our power, and part of that means choosing not to walk on the old path,
Yes.
which the thing is, there's fewer and fewer and fewer of the old paths even there anymore.
Yes.
So they're all going away, one
Yes.
way or the other, and I guess we can help ourselves along a bit, but
Exactly. And of course, if we find ourselves starting to go on this old highway, in the moment we catch ourselves, oh my goodness, I'm on this highway again. You can choose a different path, you know? You don't have to then go into blaming yourself and judging yourself because now I'm here again, and then you go into another highway of all those self judgmental thoughts. We can actually then just, yes, I actually caught myself
right,
before I got to the end of this highway. So now I can actually shift. And it helps every time we catch ourselves. It helps.
yeah, yeah. This is speaking to me so deeply. Like,
Mad.
well, like I know I walk on certain paths, old neural pathways,
Mm.
and I am making progress like everybody. Like I can say, I can think something, like I can judge someone and go, okay, wait a minute, no, I'm gonna bring that back. So that's me getting off that path and back on, but also distraction and excuses and whatever it may be. I can see where there needs to be, well, if I'm going to step into my power, truly, like, is this the final call kind of thing? Like, this is when we really start building, then I would serve myself best by making some wholesale changes,
Yeah.
energetically, whatever that means in the physical. I have some ideas, but
Yeah. And
yeah,
then the thing now is, 3, 4 years ago, we could start doing it only on an energetic level.
mm-hmm,
And now we have to do it in the physical.
yeah, yeah. So you had did a video on the mountains. You kind of talked about that, and but you'd
Mm.
made a reference earlier to this. What did you call it? Like flakes, or what was it? Like it's
The
like what?
triangles?
No. You were saying like the way you've seen it over the next whatever 6 to 8 months
Ah,
is the
yes.
sprinkling
Yeah,
of,
like sprinkling.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that looks like a lot of it's almost like if you can see whether it's systems or structures in the societies or whether it's thought patterns that we have, which is basically something mirroring the other, right? It, many say that it's like we're being controlled and we're being in a prison and we're coming in either in like a very judgmental mindset or in a victim consciousness
Mm-hmm.
of people are doing this thing to me, the government is doing this thing to me, or my neighbor, or my parents, or whoever it is, instead coming into an empowered state and actually seeing that if I change my thought patterns and my beliefs to be in alignment with the energy I'm holding more and more of, I'm actually recreating these structures. And so the structures outside will not be able, it's impossible that those structures can be maintained. And so the next 6 to 8 months, there will be more and more people in the world that can't cope, they can't be in that old mindset.
Mm.
They can't keep running on those old highways in the brain, those neural pathways. And so there will be a clearing. There will be identity crisis for many people because we are attached to the identity of being that good person, or doing things that way or that way, or there will be many people going through what many of us have been going through for some years. There's a lot of changes and shifts as we're really becoming more aware of who we are, and we're expanding our awareness. It will also then be seen in the collective and on the world stage. I don't know in what way, but it will create changes in the structures. Because what has happened now energetically, and what I was shown through this thing in the mountains, and then shown happening in my own brain, is something that is happening on a collective level as well, that will be going on. And so that will, it's like if you have, a tower of matches in a certain, a structure, and, you have all these matches in a huge tower. But then the energy can't hold it anymore. So it's like one of those are removed because there's no energy feeding into it anymore. The whole thing will just
Yeah,
fall.
yeah. Like Jenga, that game.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and then yeah, that's a good. But then the
And
other
that's a
side,
clearing. It
yeah,
looks like a spring clean because we're actually cleaning up all of those matches that are all around the place because this has happened. So we have to clean those up, and then we have to come into our own power, and we have to create a new. And even though this will take more than 6 to 8 months, it's like that cleaning up that, yeah, that looks like a spring clean, is what we are going to move through. And then, there will be a much larger group, like most people really stepping into their power within probably around the next 8 months, will lead to much more creations coming online. And this is also what makes it so that we energetically align with 2023 being a year of new technology. And a lot of that technology will come the years after 23 as well, but we will start seeing it in 2023. Um,
good. So basically, what you're saying is some there's some people there's an I don't know what you call it, first waivers or early birds, or there's some people that are getting to this place now that most people will get to in 6 to 8 months.
yes,
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So
exactly.
we can either distract ourselves for 6 to 8 months, which would probably be really painful, or we can
It will,
jump in there and just get jiggy with it. You know?
yes, yes. And start playing with it. The new creations, the more we can step into play, the more we can step into that curiosity or that
Mm,
joy of what do I actually want
right.
to create.
Right.
Like this is something I'm reminding myself of really often these days as well, because it's so easy to go into that old mindset of, oh, I should do this, or this is being asked of me,
Right.
from whatever guidance, or, but really taking full responsibility of it and accountability of it, and like, okay, I actually want to do this thing. I'm actually going to do this thing or create this thing. I'm going to like say this thing, or I'm going to make this thing, or I'm going to collaborate with this person, or whatever it is. Really, it has to come from inside, like you're sensing in your solar plexus, right? It's about to burst. It's like this, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to explode because it needs to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be like this until all the limiting beliefs that are trying to hold it in place, because it holds so much fear around what's going to happen if I come into my power. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be an arrogant asshole, or what's going to happen. You know, as long as those are in place, it will just stand there shaking.
Mm-hmm.
When we can release those and we just, okay, I just surrender. I do this, and I
Yeah.
learn as I'm going,
It's
and I
in,
check myself, you
right.
know.
Well, it's interesting too because I like the way you describe it. Because where do the shadows fall when I'm looking at that? Where's the zero pointing? Like you know what I'm saying? Like it looks different to me. It looks like what you said. That ball's there. It's shaking. It wants to burst. But when you really get down to it, what's keeping that? What's keeping that from happening. It is this. It really is, and I guess it's shadow. I don't know. The self judgment, uh, the concern of external reactions or whatever.
Mm.
That doesn't seem well. It's not going to stop it.
It's
It
not.
might slow it down, but it's not going to stop it. So
It's only going to create suffering for ourselves
yeah,
because it won't have anything to say per se collectively because we have come so far that it's not stopping.
yeah, you're right.
But we will create a lot of suffering for ourselves
That's it.
because we have the power to do that and we have the choice to.
Yeah, that's right. We can't put it off on something else. That won't work.
No.
That's part of the whole old neural pathway thing. There's
Yes.
fewer and fewer and fewer of them, so the ones that are left are the strongest ones we had, which are the biggest stories we've told ourselves, the ones that we forgot were lies. So
Yes.
it's no harm, no foul. It's just reality. Like we won't be able to externalize or blame or point the finger anywhere else but ourselves, and it'll just be simply, are you going to go do this or not?
Mm.
And the problem with saying no is the whole pulsing, or the ball just keeps getting more and more and more. And I like what you said too at the beginning about the whole ascension symptoms, or our correlation with something's wrong, where really you just said it's the energies coming in, and it has to have a place to go.
Yeah.
And so those places where it's not done yet, this is where we're getting, to me that's a really strong intel, because it really takes the story out. It
Yes.
comes in, my foot's hurting me, and I'm going to sit with my foot until the information comes, or it clears, or transforms, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. There's something about that too. Yeah.
That's so important.
Well,
That's
well, I mean, because this is where and I've talked to Morgan about this, and she goes, "Oh, well, you say that we don't have to do shadow work anymore, and you know how she feels about it. She's a shadow eater, and I totally get that, and that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for me now, it's the way I reference things. So if I start going shadow from the human perspective, then automatically something's fucking wrong with me. Well, there's nothing fucking wrong with me, okay? I'm a human being. I had a human experience. I've had some good times and some bad times, whatever, right? But it's more like, um, I don't know. It's just it's a different way to look at it, and I really like the galactic explanation now. I told her this the other day, because it takes out the charge. It's more like a clinical, oh, okay, this big ball of energy just came into my solar plexus. It's effervescing and boiling, and what's holding me back here? Well,
yes.
do I start digging, or do I just get real about it? Because it's really what? It doesn't matter what happened at this point. You either can do this or you can't, or you
Yes.
won't. So
Yeah.
this is all I need to ask myself now. Like, why wouldn't you
And
do this?
to
Why?
recap around shadow work, that's really important because it's another one of those programs that it's very easy to attach to because many of those in this community have been, through challenges and have then done a lot of shadow work, have been shifting and changing, and things have been shifting in their external life. And so we're having that attachment still to doing shadow work because there's something wrong with us. So if it's run by a belief that there's always something about myself I need to fix because I'm not good enough or I'm not, healed or there's something wrong with me. If that's what's running the shadow work,
Mm-hmm.
and this can be deeply subconscious because it's only, from it's the same old thing before we started doing the shadow work that then gets hijacks the shadow work.
Mm-hmm. I get you.
And if run by that, we're just perpetuating that old habit. That's not saying that shadow work is not going to be done, because we want to develop, we want to, look at what's coming up, and we want to shift it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can do that from an empowered, again, state, that's very different from it being a coping mechanism to
Yeah,
try to make
that's
myself feel
yeah.
good enough.
See, you actually understood me, and you actually
Yeah.
explained to me what I couldn't explain to myself. But that's it, because it can become an excuse and a distraction. Because really, the question isn't what happened to me. The question now is, this power has made itself known. It's been embodied because of all the work we've done, and it now wants to come out. So the question isn't what happened to me. It's really, why aren't you doing this?
Yes.
Why aren't you taking these steps? If it's
Yes.
because when I was a little boy, this happened to me, okay, boom. But even
Yeah.
that, it's a one-off now, right?
Yeah.
If it comes in once, boom, it's off. This whole looping and spiraling, I get that all, but
That
the
can be a comfort zone as well, because then we feel that we're doing something and we're fixing something, and we're just, going in the same loop again and again and
right.
again, running in circles.
And if we take an action, especially when you consider that these actions that we're being asked to take and innately knowing to take are actions we've never taken before,
Yes.
things that we've never accomplished or created before in ways that we've never utilized before. This is the new code. So, not to bash shadow work, because I believe in it. I love the shadow, but
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
just
It
trying
just
to,
depends on where it's coming from, and if we
yeah,
dare and have the courage to move into action and not stay in the shadow work. But it only being a tool when we're stopping ourselves from taking action.
yeah, yes. Well, for
Because
me,
yeah,
that's how. I'm not saying this is for
shadow
everybody.
work can be a shadow in and of itself.
Yeah, and for one person it might be the right whatever. I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself, but to me, this is what it really comes down to: is like, why aren't you doing this? Why isn't Soulogy the expanded platform that I've seen for 10 years and that I've been working on for 4 or 5 years? And it's not a judgment. And I know divine timing and all that, but there's something to it. Like, why isn't that happening? Why hasn't that occurred? And then you've got this thing with abundance, new creations, value, love of self, compassion. Like, it's all in that ball, I guess, right? That's bursting out of us, So I really feel like the action thing is, you know, I feel like
That's where we're
that's
at.
yeah, that's the only questions that I really need to ask are the ones that come from, are you taking this action or not?
Hmm.
You know. So if I take the action, then I'm going to have results, which is coding and information, and some of those results are going to probably create more humility in me because you took you took a shot at it, and sometimes it doesn't,
Yes,
it's not always perfect.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how you were saying you weren't feeling too good today, and I don't know
I'm
where.
enjoying this.
Yeah, I don't know where I was, but I feel a lot better having this conversation. I really do.
It's We're moving the energy. It makes difference.
Yeah.
It really does. And I think, it's a bit of the same with, the whole taking care of ourselves thing, which is really important, with the energies and the shifts and everything. And we can do that also from two different places. We can, like, oh, I have to, like, I have to take care of myself. Like, I'm a victim almost. Like, there's so much energy coming in, and oh my goodness, I have to take care of myself. Or we can do it from an empowered state. It's not like, I think that's sort of the balance we have to learn, because it has been like either we have to be in a victim um, position or situation to have the excuse to take care of ourselves,
Mm,
or think that when we are actually needing to take care of ourselves, then we feel like a victim. We're telling ourselves that then
mm.
we're
Well, that's
not, I'm weak, but we can do that from an empowered state. We can take care of ourselves while we're taking action. We can take a break when we need it. We can have a day
mm,
or two, being wiped out. It doesn't matter at all as long as we're moving into that action again. And we can take care of ourselves while we're doing that.
yeah, yeah. I
So
hadn't thought.
there's a lot of programs I think that will shift around this, being empowered. We can be, we can go into empowered surrender. We can have empowered self care. We don't have to, like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything more. I'm surrendering. We don't have to be a victim to have self care. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's the normal, and I think all of those more subtle things are what's being cleaned up now.
yeah. Well, that's pretty deep what you're saying, because if you think about it, a lot of our surges in empowerment, self empowerment, liberation have come from a traumatic scenario where we were a victim,
Mm.
technically, but there's a lot to be said for what you're saying, because that is, I guess you could say in a way, that's the creation or transformation. That whole thing was just the catalyst. That's all. It was the catalyst. And earlier in our journeys, the human story dominated everything. But
Mm.
now I think this is part of what's coming online too, is this higher perspective, this embodied soul, living, spirit flesh, where
Yeah.
we don't look at it the same. It's not like a trigger. Damn those
Mm.
triggers, but they're really activations.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
think we
and
you know what I mean? Yeah,
really gifts to for us to see where something needs to be cleared or looked at, or
yeah,
you know
yeah. That's
it's
so huge. That's so huge to be able to be here in 2022, almost 2023, and actually, I'm not saying I'm perfect on this, but to be able to, especially the last 2 3 months, to look at someone or something and go immediately when I see the judgment and go,
Mm.
that person does this, that person does that. I know there's a reason I'm judging that. It's here, and it's becoming much easier to accept and to move on. Right? Like, okay, well, I was like that before. Or I don't want to admit that. Whatever it is, and then you just snap. In the there's no lingering. There should be no lingering. I think if there's a lingering judgment or a lingering prejudice or bias, or you could even say a lingering belief that keeps getting challenged and you just won't let go of, or you won't look at the other side. To me, that's a huge, not I don't want to say red flag, but that's a huge indicator that maybe I need to take a look at myself, or maybe I'm avoiding something in myself.
Mm. Yes.
You know, which, think about that too with what you were saying. If I'm avoiding something in myself that's still hanging around in December 1st of 2022, then chances are I'm not going to be able to take the actions that I'm feeling I need to take. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So that's an interesting thing.
And so there will be so much energy moving towards that action that you will have a struggle with holding on to whatever is
Yeah.
holding you back.
Yeah.
And this is where, we can have so much fear of moving forward and not taking action, that we can, coming back to, for example, the shadow work, we can use that as an excuse because, yeah, but I'm so afraid of moving forward. I just need to find out why,
Right.
because that's our comfort zone. We have been,
Right.
we have become comfortable with. doing shadow work. So
Right.
it's, it's like doing both. We have to juggle it all moving forward, just taking what's right in front of us and remembering that we are in a phase of taking action. We are in a phase of creating a lot of new things,
Yeah.
and also new collaborations. People coming together.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's good talking. Yeah, I feel better now. Now I just throw up once or twice today instead of 10. I'm kidding. I don't. I'm not throwing up. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
we'll
really do.
we'll
And
talk
you're
again.
doing amazing, amazing work, Todd.
Thank,
Your ripples are much wider than you have any idea of.
thank you. I'll see you later. Peace out. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
We'll do it again.